Transitive and intransitive verbs, a guide to recognizing the grammar roadmap with grammar trees. And today I'm going to teach you the differences between transitive and intransitive verbs. Ever wonder what English grammar would look like if it were broken down into mathematical equations? This is possible if we're able to apply what we know about nouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs in grammar trees. Let's start with the basics before we begin diving into transitive and intransitive verbs. In English, there is a subject, verb, and object. Keep that in mind because there's two different types of objects. There's direct objects and indirect objects. For example, a direct object is, I bought a car. An indirect object is, I went to the store. See, here in the grammar tree we have subject, verb, and object. Let's start with the direct object first. I is the noun, bought is the verb, and a car is the object. Here is the roadmap grammar equation. Notice that the direct object, a car, is the noun phrase. Now, what about intransitive or indirect objects? First, let's review. We know in order to have a transitive verb, we need a noun phrase. And the noun is the direct object that's followed right after the verb in the equation of the grammar trees. What about intransitive or indirect objects? Let's review. We know that in order to have a transitive verb, we need a noun phrase or a noun that is the direct object followed right after the verb in the equation of the grammar trees. Here, for example, we have bought, and here's the noun phrase, a car. Transitive sentences that have an indirect object do not follow after the verb. There is an adverbial prepositional phrase or an adverb phrase that comes after the verb from the sentence. For example, I went to the store, or I went cautiously to the store. To is a preposition within the first sentence, and cautiously is an adverb in the second sentence, followed after the verb went. This sentence is intransitive with an intransitive verb because the word to is an adverbial prepositional phrase, preposition, followed after the verb, went, making the verb intransitive and making to the store an indirect object because it is not followed after the verb. Also, the word cautiously is an adverb which makes the word an adverbial adverb phrase, adverb, in the grammar roadmap. For example, intransitive sentence with an intransitive verb. Here we have the sentence. On the left, we have the noun phrase. Down, the noun, I. Verb phrase. Verb, went. Adverbial phrase, and preposition, to. On the right, noun phrase, noun, the store. Again, this is the reason why we have an indirect object. If you notice the arrow, how it goes went, and then the arrow, the store. In the center is to, and that's what makes the sentence an intransitive sentence and makes the object an indirect object. We also have another indirect object because cautiously is an adverbial adverb phrase, adverb, to adverbial preposition phrase, preposition, and then the store. See the huge gap between went and the store. Let's put both trees side by side and see the difference in the equation. What do you see differently from each other? What makes a transitive sentence verb? The indirect object or noun phrase, noun, is followed after the verb phrase or the verb. This is what makes the object a direct object. This is why the verb in the sentence is transitive. I bought a car. The store is the object. However, there is an adverbial prepositional phrase, preposition after the verb phrase, verb, which is making the object, the store, an indirect object. If you notice the arrow from the verb pointing to the store, you notice that to is in the center, and that is a preposition. What makes this sentence an intransitive sentence and an intransitive verb, because went is the intransitive verb. Just the fact that to is in the center from the direct object, or the object, which in this case is an indirect object. So a transitive verb is a verb that is able to make a connection with the direct object after the verb, but an intransitive verb cannot. Why is it important to know transitive and intransitive verbs? Transitive and intransitive verbs will help you understand the arrangement of words and phrases to create well-formed sentences in the English language with the use of grammar trees by recognizing grammar in equation form. Now let's take a short quiz. Transitive or intransitive? Jack poured his drink into the sink. The fat French chef cooks great. But if you notice the two, are they intransitive or transitive sentence? If you answered intransitive, that's correct, because if you notice, Jack poured his drink into the sink. Into is a preposition. That fat French chef cooks great. Cooks is a verb. Great is an adjective. So that still makes it an intransitive sentence.